What's up YouTube? Thanks for checking out the channel. Today I'm going to test out this vented 13-inch Memphis Shades windshield. I'm going to put it to the test and tell you if I see any differences, if I feel any differences between this vented windshield and a non-vented. So let's hop to it. It is such an amazing day today.
Okay, so I realized that I may not have plugged in my microphone all the way, so my microphone didn't pick up much of my voice. So we'll just stick with the voiceover for this video. A couple of weeks ago, Memphis Shades sent me two windshields to try out, the 13-inch and the 13-inch vented windshield. I wanted to see what the differences are between the vented and the non-vented. I've seen a few reviews, and like all things on the internet, the reviews are fairly mixed. You have some people that'll say it makes no difference, while others will say it does help with wind buffeting. So I wanted to see for myself, what exactly are the differences between the vented and the non-vented? Does it help with wind buffeting or not? Do you just end up getting more wind from the vented version because of the vents in the front? I won't go too much into detail about my experience with the non-vented windshield, especially the 13-inch version. I did a review of the 13-inch windshield comparing it against the 11-inch as well as the 15-inch. So if you're interested, you can check out that video with the link in the description. But to summarize, with the 13-inch windshield, I start feeling some wind buffeting starting around like 65 miles an hour and above. And for reference, I'm 5'8" and I sit fairly tall on my Lowrider S. I would say the top of the windshield comes right around my mouth. So the bulk of my head is still above the windshield. And again, if you want to see how I sit on the bike, check out that video I just mentioned. So yeah, the 13-inch non-vented windshield is still a decent option. For me, it worked better than the 11-inch, but I still got a pretty decent amount of wind buffeting on my head, especially at highway speeds. Oddly enough, I noticed that it did drastically reduce the amount of wind that I was getting on my chest. Alright, so let's get into it. Was there any difference between the vented windshield and the non-vented? So to test this out, I rode around with the vented windshield for a few hours, taking it first on the highway and then some local back roads just to make sure that I'm testing it on various terrain. So here's what I found, and again, this is just my experience, so take it with a grain of salt. The big question is, did it completely eliminate wind buffeting to my head? Not exactly. I did still feel some wind buffeting, but I was actually surprised at how much it reduced the buffeting versus the non-vented option. The wind that I was getting to my helmet felt a little softer, and it didn't have as much blunt force as the non-vented option. I would actually say this 13-inch vented windshield was almost as good when it comes to wind buffeting as the 15-inch windshield that I tried. I tested it going up to speeds about 90 miles per hour or so, and I thought the wind was much more manageable with the vented windshield versus the non-vented windshield. To me, it seems a little counterintuitive to say that the vented windshield would be better at wind buffeting, but I think that's what's happening. I think what's happening is that the vent is breaking up the wind a little bit, so the air is going through two entry points instead of just one, and I think it was reducing the wind force that was going to my head and just averting it to my body. I'm not sure if that's how it's designed to work, but that's how it felt to me. It felt like I was getting a lot less wind to my head and maybe a little bit more wind to my chest. Now, with that said, I did notice that I was getting more wind to my chest, like I mentioned, and body versus the non-vented option. I'll let you be the judge as to if that's a good thing or not, but that's a trade-off I'm willing to take, especially during warmer months. And even then, the wind impact didn't seem as rough because the vented windshield was evenly distributing where the wind was going versus the non-vented windshield where the air seemed to be really focused on a couple of areas. All right. So that's just my quick assessment of the vented windshield versus the non-vented windshield. I've tried both out, and for me, particularly, if I want to decrease the amount of wind buffeting that I'm getting to my head, I'd rather go with the vented option. Like I mentioned, I think what's happening is the air is going through two different entry points above the windshield and through the vents. By doing so, it's really just reducing the impact of both areas by 50% or so. That's my assessment. That's what I felt like. I definitely felt more wind on my chest and less on my head, which to me is a good thing, especially if you don't want wind buffeting on your head. All right, well, I'm going to skate out of here. Thanks for tuning in, and until next video, I'll see you on later. Peace.
I don't know if what I just said made sense, but yeah, I've been testing out the non-vented version of this. I feel like I have a pretty good comparison. And it looks kind of cool. It looks a little bit different. Alright, so that's the video today. Thank you guys for joining the channel. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope this was helpful. You know, my final assessment, I really like this versus the non-vented. So I'm going to skate out of here. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next video, I'll see y'all later. Peace.